How's it going, everyone? Dan Toback here with SLC Scanner, news from the people for the people, presented by WRPB Studios here on Thursday. I have the honor of being with two good friends of mine, Will Harris and John Briney, for Men at Arms. These folks are not strangers to you because they've been on our page before. Guys, welcome to the studio today.
Thank you, Dan.
Absolutely. And we want you guys to be able today to really, again, remind all our followers, people in our community, the great work y'all are doing. But first off, maybe just do like a personal intro to the community.
My name's John Briney, and I'm a retired police officer that owns my own company now, and I'm in private business, and member of Men at Arms, Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club.
Excellent.
I'm Will Harris. I'm a 26-year military and law enforcement veteran, currently working as a police canine officer, and I'm the vice president for the Men at Arms Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club.
I love it. Well, as you all know, SLC Scanner, we're big fans of our police, our former military, former law enforcement. So, again, we're honored to have these two with us today. Will, as you kind of oversee the Men at Arms program with your team, can you maybe give a rundown of, who is Men at Arms? What do y'all do in the community? And just fill in our followers on that.
Sure. Initially, we started as a kind of like a fraternal organization, someplace to blow off steam and share a common interest of riding motorcycles together as a group. We realized as the group grew that we had the ability to make an impact on the community. A lot of us have kind of a large scope, and so we ended up any charity or anything that came our way where people needed, we tried to raise funds. We've done barbecues for fallen officers. We've done benefits for patches for the Police Athletic League, and even down to just civilians in the community that fell in hard times and needed help. We realized again from that point that our scope was maybe a little too wide, and that our identity could be formed in kind of narrowing that scope, and that's why we're here today to talk about that and talk about trying to provide confidential mental health facility or facilitation of mental health care for first responders. So
absolutely. As you mentioned, obviously mental health and taking care of mental health for first responders. For people like myself, I've never served in the military, I've never served in our PD or sheriff's office, not a first responder by any means. What are the unique challenges for mental health for the first responder community?
So when you look at the statistics for it, I pulled from 2022 was the most recent stats I could find, and when you look at a community that is approximately 700,000 people, 700,000 men and women just in the law enforcement community in the United States, there's a rate of 200 or more a year suicide. It's 18% reported. Now, keep in mind, a lot of this goes largely unreported, but 18% substance abuse, whether it's alcohol or drug abuse. There's 25% have been involved, or 25% I think is what it was, have been involved in a shooting, a critical incident such as a shooting. The divorce rate's at 50%. And when you look at those numbers, we're failing. And I believe that failure comes about because of what's provided currently, although it's a start, doesn't provide the safety and anonymity that's needed for someone to feel comfortable to come forward and seek the help that they need.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that with not only the, suicide, not only substance abuse and divorce relationships. Somebody who's maybe watching this, who follows your page, it might be a business owner, maybe they just work a 9 to 5, which is certainly still needed, to support our communities. We don't have those same challenges necessarily in terms of, hey, we might struggle with anxiety, we might struggle with depression, but that wears quite a different mask for the general public versus law enforcement, of course. So I think what you touched on is having somebody that really knows some of those problems and maybe is familiar with some of those challenges to actually work through those issues with somebody who might be recently retired or is still actively serving, either military, first responder by any type of first responder needing those services. how does Men at Arms create that bridge between the needs of that community and then also the mental health aspect?
Sure. I actually want to touch on that a little bit. We don't, we had a saying when I was on active duty, you choose your rate, choose your fate, basically meaning that you could choose a job that puts you out in the hot sun all day, or you could choose a job that maybe puts you in, the Radio Shack where there's, air conditioning and stuff. So we do take onus as a community and as, veteran law enforcement officers that we knew what we were signing up for. So I don't want to make the comparison necessarily to say that we have it much harder than anybody else. Life is stressful, and we understand that. What we're trying to kind of get at there is we know, especially if you watch current YouTube trends, current social media trends, we know that the public trust at times becomes very broken. And we don't want to, and when I say we, I'm talking about, the law enforcement officers and the men at arms, and, and I'm sure I speak for many others, but I don't want to make a habit of speaking for others that way. We don't want to shy away from that. We don't want to pass blame. We want to take our responsibility within that, and we're not looking for sympathy. We're looking for solution. So where you talk about, coming home from a regular job, and I'm in no means trying to be demeaning by saying regular job, but, working a 9 to 5, you have a bad day, you have a support system to come home to.
Yeah.
It's not normal to go from, pulling a drowned child out of a pool, going to the next call for service, which may be a barking dog, and then when you expand that out to a career of spanning more than 20 years, that's a lot of dirt you pick up. And, when the normal person, I hate to use that term, but when the normal person working, a different kind of job, may experience one, and again, I understand that there are exceptions to the rule, but may experience one traumatic event, like seeing one car crash with a dead body that their mind can't process. That becomes the daily function for a law enforcement officer. And if not the daily function, certainly the daily expectation that this is what can happen during the day. So we recognize that, and the current system and the way it's set up is we have things available to us like EAP, which, if you don't know, is the Employee Assistance Program. The Employee Assistance Program, they require participating clinicians. You're provided with a list of clinicians similar to a phone book, and then you call at random to speak to somebody. And I have personally, and I think I can speak for you as well, John,
Absolutely.
personally have gone through the efforts of trying to find a counselor, and then understanding that I don't know if I'm going to find a counselor that can deal with the issue that I am dealing with, or that knows how to handle the issue that I'm dealing with, because we are in our own kind of microcosm socially. And I've actually experienced being turned away from counselors because they said they were not equipped to handle, that particular issue. So, there's a hole there where there's another hole, and it's very well intentioned. And I want to make this clear. It's not for lack of trying. Police agencies try very hard by providing peer support groups. But again, because of the nature of the job itself, many officers and firemen and first responders don't feel comfortable going to their own peers within the workplace to try to get help. And so that's kind of the problem that we've identified, was there are people that want help. They just, it's not effective completely in the way that it's offered. So we want to offer a different way.
Absolutely.
The alternative with what we're proposing, or what we're getting behind with BlueLineRescue.org and RedLineRescue.org, you may get peer support that's on the other side of the state. You may get a police officer that has been through something similar and talk with them for peer support, instead of within your own agency, where you may be conscious of, am I being judged? So that's a very big advantage, I think.
Huge.
I would love to touch on that for a minute too. So Blue Line Rescue and RedLineRescue.org, the way that it's set up is you log into the website, or you pull up the website, and you basically go through a quick evaluation of what you're struggling with. At that point, it will pull up a map, and you can look on the map, and there are, you can see who's available, and you can make sure that you're talking to somebody that's outside of your department, outside of your jurisdiction, who, like John said, has experienced something similar. So if my issue was substance abuse, I you would prefer to speak to somebody who has
Been through it.
is in recovery and has had that struggle themselves. Um, More than that, they also provide a list of clinicians, and the clinicians are trained and have dealt with law enforcement, fire rescue, and they're all separate too. So if you're a fireman, you can go to redlinerescue.org, and you will be dealing with people who have counseled and been with firefighters, and same for law enforcement. So it's an incredible tool, and in fact, it's such a relief to us, because when we first started kind of spitballing this idea of how can we help, how can we make a difference, we thought we had to invent this whole thing,
Yeah.
and to find out that it's already out there, and the wonderful people that run it are out there. It became very clear to us that our mission should support their mission.
Absolutely.
So
I love that, and I think that there's a saying once. I'm probably going to butcher it, but nobody knows a situation better than somebody who's been through it, right? And I'm going to make sure I get this website right. Blue Line Rescue and redlinerescue.org.
correct.
You're getting that as a first responder. You're speaking with people that have navigated those waters before. And
Right.
again, I want to give a shout out to all our mental health professionals. I'm married to one. So, we need all different types of that array of experience with mental health. We need people that know kids. We need people that know sexual abuse. But we also need people that know first responders. And I think that this
Absolutely.
bridge you're kind of creating between I suppose it would be a nonprofit, bluelinerescue.org, redlinerescue.org. That bridge you're creating, I think, is invaluable. I don't think you could put a value on it, because so many people are in need that might be watching, or know people
Absolutely.
that need it. So,
Absolutely.
We want to step up and take the responsibility. We're not the type to sit in a corner and say, well, it's just hard. It's just hard. You have to, we all know that we are responsible for our own behavior. We're responsible for our own mental health. We're responsible for our own physical health. We're responsible for the words that come out of our mouth, for the actions that we do. And, I firmly believe that without having that support system present, people lose sight of that and ultimately end up losing their humanity. So we want to do our part in stepping up for the community to be the best that we can be,
absolutely.
And there are some holes in the employee assistance program, and overall, it's a great tool and it's a great benefit. But number one, there's limited amount of benefit to it per our benefit package. So there's only so many sessions, so to speak. So you don't know if this is an ongoing problem. You're not getting a full benefit of going there unless you're going out of pocket, and this kind of subsidizes that issue as well.
That's huge.
Plus, like
Yeah.
you said, there are different clinicians that are specializes in children and everything else, and it's very important to get somebody that knows what we have been through.
Absolutely. That's everything, right? To find that person that's a fit. Because if it's not the right fit, as you all
Right.
know, right,
Mhm.
it
Right.
just doesn't work for somebody watching that have been through that process. To put a bow on this, people know kind of what your mission is, what you've all been through, what you represent with Men at Arms, and then also the Blue Line and Redline.org, rescue.org. How can they help? How can they support you guys and with the work you're doing here locally?
Uh, Awesome. So we've recently put together an administrative board that is outside of the motorcycling community. Ultimately, the way that we want this to be received is, if you do ride a motorcycle, you want to come to motorcycle events, you're interested in helping on that level or being part of that, you're more than welcome. But if you don't ride a motorcycle and you are not interested in motorcycle events, we want your support on this level. So we did start an administrative board, or associate board rather. That associate board is comprised of members of the community, just like the people watching, that are putting together fundraisers that are outside the scope of motorcycling. We're putting together a paint night like a date night, paint night, sort of thing. We are going to be doing a soon, like a cigar night, cigars and watches for those of you that are interested in cigars and watches. Any community outreach. So if you have an idea for something that you feel would be a great event, you can feel free to contact us. If you are, a business owner in the community and you have a vested interest in the services within the community, if you would like to be a sponsor, we would love your sponsorship. And so we do have great things come up. John's probably the better one to touch on that. He's a little more involved with that side.
Well, the sponsorship is very important, and we wouldn't be here without our sponsors. And we have many sponsors, but we don't, even though we have many sponsors, we don't have enough, because we definitely need to raise some money for this charity and go forward with this program that he has so well articulated. So, yeah, I think that's.
And just so that people understand, and there is that transparency there, the money that we would be raising would be going toward paying for mental health services for first responders that maybe don't have the means to do so,
Yeah.
and connecting them with the clinicians that they don't know are out there,
Yeah.
that are there for them. So, we're trying to fill that hole. Like we said, we're not looking for sympathy, just solution.
I love that. Yes, I have to actually remember that, solutions over sympathy. Sometimes in the page we talk a lot about backing the blue, right? But in reality, right, if we're just saying backing the blue, but we're not working with them to figure out solutions, we're really not improving our community, improving that community as well. So
Right.
I think it's important, if you guys felt compelled like I did to help. As a business owner, you all know I buy houses for a living. It's great if I can go see a house, but some crazy person walks in there, tries to hurt me, right, while I'm fixing a home. Guess who I have to call? It's these guys. I don't have the capability. Well, anyway, maybe. It depends on the day you catch me. But we need our guys in uniform, our gals in uniform, right, to facilitate business, to carry out our society. And this is why I felt compelled to help these guys, because, without them, we couldn't conduct business. We couldn't have recreation in St. Lucie County. So Men-at-Arms, right, Will Harris, John Briney, find these guys to be able to work with them so we get our heroes and former heroes the help that they need. God bless. Anything else, guys, before we finish up?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Awesome.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Yeah.